I've just come out the front door again, and this time some wattlebirds have been calling. Their sound is a bit like a hacking cough, but they are a really lovely bird. They're quite large. There it goes again. And there's a sitting area on our front veranda, and some pots. He's certainly noisy this morning. And if I turn around, you'll see the garden bed and the bush across the road, which is also on our land. So welcome to episode 45. I hope you enjoy what I'm sharing with you today. Of course, there are updates on my Coverlet of Comfort, and also I have done some work in my Wetlands journal and my circle project, hopefully as well. So enjoy. Just for a change, I'm showing you the view from where I sit when I'm doing my work. I'm currently working on my Wetlands journal, and I have my little shelf with all my journals at the end of the table. It's a vintage shelf that I store them on, and they're handy if I want to work in them too. The tin has my bookbinding supplies, and I have my threads here handy. This beautiful little cup is where I put all my thread ends, and I save these for needle felting. It's a cracked cup that I bought for 50 cents, but I love the design on it so much that I had to buy it. Tea bags, double-sided tape, the card that I received in the mail with a lovely gift, and my triptych, which is still not finished, some naturally dyed clothes, and of course lots of storage. And then on the floor, which I haven't unpacked yet, is a bag of all my exhibits from the exhibition recently at St Helens. I had 6 entries in that, and I actually got an award in the challenge section, so that was really a nice surprise. I got a roll of batik fabrics, which I'm sure I'll be able to use. So this is from where I sit, and of course not forgetting that I have my iron and my sewing machine all set up here, ready to use, and a view to outside. I've been sharing on social media that I've been stitching on the shapes that I made in my demonstration in the last video, and I've really enjoyed it. They're just little handheld pieces, and then I've just done some embroidery however I felt like it. I allowed the pieces in the collage to inspire the stitching, but sometimes I ignored it. So those are, for example, going right across all the little pieces. And I had enough for 5 hearts and 8 circles, just out of 2 pieces of fabric about that big, which I didn't expect. I didn't realise that I would get so many pieces out of those collaged fabrics. And I really enjoyed the process, so I don't think it's the last time that I'm going to be doing this. And I did do some trial layouts, and I realised that I could think beyond the bounds of the edges of this wonky star section, which is the April section of the Coverlet of Comfort. I'm going to wait to add some of the shapes till after I actually join it to the previous section, and also maybe till I've done the next section, whatever that is. So they will wait for me, and I'm sure they will show me where they would like to be. But one of the ideas I had, if I just move this down, was to put one here, which is near the end, and where this will join onto the coverlet, so let's say I fold that back and it joins on, I can just overlap this so that it comes onto the other piece, and actually that will blur the edges a little bit and make this seem more continuous. And I mentioned before that all these shapes have fabrics that I've used in both sections, or in all 4 sections, I should say, of the coverlet. We did one section for January, then one for February and March, and now I'm working on the April one. So I've only used 2 of them, 2 of the smaller circles. So one is in the centre of this wonky star here, and you can see that I've started doing a quilted circle or a series of circles around it. This circle I just did around the edge of the collaged circle, and then I used my piece of paper from the larger circle to make the template for the first row of quilting or stitching. And then I took that away and did the next row freehand. And I might continue so that they radiate outwards. The edge of the circle I did in an overcast stitch when I attached it to the centre of this star, using a variegated kind of a burgundy colour with a bit of orange in it, which is this one. And I seem to be using mostly variegated threads at the moment. I added feather stitch to this star in a variegated orange, which is this one. And in the middle, Kathryn showed us how to do what's called a convent stitch, which is a couched stitch that you do all in one go. So you lay the thread down and then you go back and you cover it with tiny little stitches to hold it down. And for that one, I used a silk thread, which is like a pure cotton, but much smoother and beautiful to stitch with, for the grey in the section there. So I just wanted texture. I didn't want a contrast colour, but here I did want some contrast. And then I carried on and I just did the small circles with the feather stitch. So there's another one. And I did that one in the green variegated thread that I have. And so that green, I really like the contrast, or the fact that it also complements the orange that I used in the other star. And then the little star at the bottom, I also did in the orange. So we've got from top to bottom orange, green and orange. And this is turning out to be quite a colourful coverlet, even though I'm using a lot of hand-dyed fabrics which are more muted. For example, this Japanese cotton and this lace, which I naturally dyed. So what I'll be doing is continuing with these circles and radiating them out a bit more, and probably stopping a little way inside the edge of the seam so that when I join it, I've got the fabric free. I also followed Kathryn's suggestion to people that don't like doing piece stars or feel a bit out of their depth with it, and to do applique stars. And I thought, well, they might actually make a nice addition, even though I enjoyed the pieced ones. So I did an applique 8-point star, then an applique 6.1, and down here, one with 5 points. And again, I did those with this variegated cotton, 3 strands I've been using of all the variegated cottons. Did an overcast stitch around the edge and then did a little running stitch just inside it. The applique stars are all made from fabrics that I bought from the spotted Quoll and tea-dyed. And the wonky stars are also the points. These pieces I mentioned before are Japanese silk noil, and I really love them, and the colours seem to go with this. I've had them for years and I was going to give them away. In fact, they were in a bag ready to give away. And I looked at them again and I thought, oh no, I think they would really suit my coverlet. So I hung on to them. So that's the progress so far. I'm doing this clip earlier in the week, so possibly by the time I share the video on Saturday, I will have done more because I can't seem to leave it alone. But I do want to do more in my journals, and I also need to catch up with my circle project with Lisbeth Degn. So if I do, that will be in this video also. as you know, a lot of the fabrics that I've used as contrast in my coverlet comes from the spotted Quoll. And initially I ordered a pack of samples. This was one of my favourites, and the one I used in the star points here was another one of my favourites. And I thought about it and I thought, I think I might have to buy some of the fabric in, say, 1 metre long length. So I did that last week and they arrived, and I'm absolutely thrilled with them. This one is based on a design looking at rocks that have lichen on them. And in Tasmania, you often see photographs that people have taken of these rocks. It is very much a Tasmanian thing, very recognisable. And there's hints of water as well, and rock faces, and I just love the colour combination. So I'll be using some more of this as we progress. I may use some for the backing as well, because it just would go so well with the whole coverlet, as you can see by the bits of colour you can see. And then this other one was the one with the leaves on it, which I really love also. And it's just like, you know, you're looking at the ground and there's a carpet of leaves. So both of these I think are cotton. They are designed in Tasmania and sold through the spotted Quoll, and I'll share a link of that so that you can see the other fabrics and also the other items that they do. It's an ethical business. They employ local people and source their fabrics ethically, which really impressed me. So even though I don't buy new fabrics very often, I thought it would be really great to support a local Tasmanian business and also support someone who is really doing their best to do things in a responsible way. So you'll see more of these fabrics as I go along. They are just so beautiful, and I would encourage you to have a look and maybe even buy some of the fabrics. I'm not being sponsored in any way. I'm just sharing something that I just think is beautiful. I'm currently running an online workshop called Grounded. A few videos ago, I offered a special where you could do the initial Grounded class and the masterclass as one bundle for less than the price of the two classes. So that's currently running. I have some lovely people that have enrolled for this class, and we're in the process of having Zoom sessions. I taught this, I think, during lockdown or towards the end of lockdown. And the idea is to make a textured paint from the earth around where you live, whether it's from pot plants or from the garden or from the side of the road or anywhere like that, and making paint out of it. So I'm not going to get into the detail too much here because that's part of the class. But I like to work along with my students, so I've been doing some earth painting as well. I also use charcoal from the fire, so you'll see the black paint here I've made with charcoal from the fire, and I really like the contrast with the paint. So these are just abstract. I've used mostly a wide brush, and I've been working on cardboard here, and I've left spaces because I will be adding, possibly I'll be adding collage and also ultimately stitch. So I've done them in different sizes. These are smaller. I think they're about 3 inches. The other ones might be 4.5 or so. And again, the same combination of different strokes with a couple of different size brushes, and using some of the sandstone that occurs naturally here, some soil from a friend's garden, and some charcoal. And in these two, I haven't used any charcoal at all. I've just used the garden soil and the sandstone. So that's the base for further work. I also wanted to try some that were based on horizons. So very roughly, I did some outlines of horizons around here, and using photographs that I'd taken. And you'll see I've used a few different thicknesses of lines. This is done with a stick, and these are done with a wide brush. And I've left lots of white there because I would like to, as I said, add some collage. This paper is not a card, it's more of a silk paper. It's supposed to have actual silk fibres in it. So I thought it'd be nice to try it out. And it does seem to be able to take the paint when it's wet and it doesn't buckle. So I'll just put those aside. Now here's one that I've started to collage. I've also done something I haven't done before just to try it out, and that is I've done a black line following some of the contours. This is an art line pen, and then what I'm doing is I'm using some of my eco-printed paper. So I tore that from this piece, as you can see, and I'll be gluing that down. I've also got some tea bag, and when that's glued down you get a lovely translucent effect there, and some old sheet music. I also have some old dictionary page which I use a lot in my journals, and I'm thinking of putting a strip down here, but I'm also thinking possibly of adding handwritten text. So I haven't glued anything down yet. I also need to seal the paint before I add the next layers. So at the moment I'm just playing with layouts. I will probably be offering the Grounded Bundle class again later in the year. So just keep following me on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and I will let you know when it's open for enrolments again. I'm able to take people from anywhere in the world because it's all online. I do it by email, which gives you landing pages with videos and notes. And it's an evergreen course and self-paced. No rush, take as long as you like. There is a limit, of course, to how long I can support you, but I will certainly support you during the duration of the course. And then when the next class opens up, then I will need to concentrate on them. But it's a very interesting technique. It's one I experimented with. I haven't done any classes with anybody about this. I just thought, what if I did this and what if I did that? And this was the result. I also have made quite a few artworks using the earth paints that I've made myself, mixed with collage and stitching and so on. And they have been quite successful as far as being sold goes. Some I had framed, some I've just had mounted, and that was quite unexpected. So I'll just intersperse a few of those here now. I've been working really hard the last couple of days to finish my circle project weekly challenges. We are actually in week 16, and as you can see, I haven't done week 16, but I have done weeks 14 and 15. So I'll just open my journal and show you what I've done. Lately, I've been using a lot of variegated threads in my Coverlet of Comfort, and we were encouraged to use variegated threads in some of these weekly challenges as well. So I didn't really need a lot of encouragement really to do that. I really love using variegated threads. So to give continuity to these two pages, I used the same threads on both of the exercises. They're done on some eco-printed card that I had, and it's the back of a sketch pad or a notepad, so it's quite thick cardboard, and I had to pre-punch the holes with my little makeshift awl again. The brief for this one was to use chain stitch and do some circles within the circle. So I did different ways of doing that. I'm not sure which way up it should go. I started off with it this way, but I'm wondering whether it should go this way. Anyway, I'll decide before I attach it to the page. And this one I did first, and I did the chain stitches going outwards from the circle. This one I went around the circle and added some in the middle. And this one I pointed them inwards and had to be really careful that they didn't get too crowded. But actually it made me think that it would be interesting to play with different spacings. So I did that accidentally, but you could do it deliberately. And also the height of the chains changed as I went along. And again, you could do that on purpose and make that really work for you. So I discovered a few things while I was doing this. And because I did an edge on this circle, which I did first, I thought I'd do the same on this one just to make them coordinate. For that one, I used 3 strands of thread, and it's just embroidery floss. With this one, because the weaving would take a long time if I only used 3 strands, I actually used the whole 6 strands to make the weft to make the warp and also the weft. It got a bit tricky coming towards the center, so I made a separate hole for this third one because these two was getting a bit crowded in the hole that I made. So I just spaced that a little bit away. And also because the threads are closer together as you get to the middle, I actually skipped some, and instead of weaving over the 7 threads, I wove over 3, I think, just to finish it off. And unless I told you, I don't think you'd probably notice. And then because there were gaps in here, I thought I'll just decorate them simply. So I did triangles with a different colour, but it still relates to that variegated thread there. It's a bit bulky on the back. I should just show you. Partly because the cardboard is so thick as well, but you concentrate a lot of threads in the middle here. So I'm not quite sure how I will attach it to the page yet. And because the cardboard is thick, my sewing machine might not like it. So I'm thinking I might only use double-sided tape, but we'll see. And as usual, in the background, I have vintage dictionary page, used tea bag, and some stamped text on part of the margin from some old sheet music. There's a bit of noise going on. I have help with the vacuuming because of my back, and that's happening at the other end of the house. So I'll just get this video clip done before it comes closer. I'm finally doing some work on my Wetlands journal again. I have hardly any scraps left. This is all that is left. I have nothing else from the publicity material which came from the conservation group. And luckily, these are the last 2 pages of the journal, and then I can start binding it. And I think I mentioned before that I probably will do a slip knot binding, and I've reinforced all the pages ready for that. So this one is collaged. I've just used a glue stick to glue down some vintage tea bag, some recycled tea bag, a bit of text and some torn bits of paper from the publicity material. And if you can see, I've traced in pencil the outline of the bird that I want to do, which in this case is a duck. And it goes that way. I've used it both ways actually in the journal. It goes that way. And what I will do next is I'll punch holes with my little makeshift awl made from a needle and a couple of corks. And then I'll do a back stitch in this white or creamy colour, because that represents the ghostly images of the birds that either are extinct or about to become extinct. So that one is ready for some stitching. This one I have started some stitching and possibly have finished. I'm not 100% sure yet. So there's the ghostly image of a heron, and then some torn pieces of paper from the publicity material. Every drop was also from the same paperwork, and of course that means every drop of water counts, especially in a wetlands. And some sheet music, which I've stitched down with cross stitch after gluing it down. Feather stitch for the plant life, and some straight stitches for reeds or grasses. So I'm not sure if I'm doing any more to this, but I actually will miss it when it's finished, because it's been such an enjoyable process. And the whole idea of it was, firstly, not to waste the papers that came in the mail, but also to raise awareness of the issue of wetlands and how important they are for our environment worldwide. Animals and birds and plants and insects are so important to the balance ecologically, and any loss is going to affect everybody. So I wanted to raise awareness in a more positive way. So hopefully in the next video I will show you this all bound together. And meanwhile, I'll just do the last bit of stitching and maybe a bit more gluing. I'm not sure yet.